Hey, Christmas. Hope your Christmas planning is going great. I'm here to talk to you about something that you may not have thought about before and may make your Christmas just a little bit richer and a little more meaningful. I hope it does. Every Christmas, if you celebrate this beautiful tradition of the birth of Christ, you probably heard this before, and this will be a sign unto you. You shall find a babe wrapped in swaddling cloths, lying in a manger. You've heard that before. What's that all about? Think about something for a minute. Written by Luke, a doctor who understands medicine, understands germs, bacteria, disease, and also is a meticulous keeper of history. So he writes about this babe wrapped in cloth. Even ministers in churches will say clothes sometimes, but it's actually cloths. Why? Because in this Egyptian culture, in this Middle Eastern culture, back in the first century, when a child was born, they would wrap it in cloths, and interspersed between the cloth was salt. And the reason for the salt was to kill any bacteria. It's not like you're in a hospital, you're in a manger. So there's this cleanliness aspect of things to ward off infection. So this babe is wrapped in these, almost like a mummy, like burial cloths. And isn't that appropriate? This babe wrapped in burial cloths. The first statement made about this child in time and space is this: he came for one reason and one reason only, to ward off the infection of sin that so easily wants to kill you. And he came to die, and he's going to die in the process of completing his goal. So this babe grows up in wisdom and stature to be as the Savior of the world, to die for you, and it's the first statement he makes about his infancy. I've come to die. I'm a man of sorrows, acquainted with grief, and I've come with my face like flint towards Jerusalem. Even as a child, he's telling us, I came here to die for you at great expense. Think about that for a second. Now, the second thing you notice about this thing is that there are three humiliations of God, if you really want to understand Christ in the Bible. Very simply, the first humiliation is that God, in the form of a baby, would condescend and enter time and space from eternity in heaven and paradise to this earth to be acquainted with grief, to experience fatigue, sadness, sorrow, pain, and all the things that go along with being a human being. As our representative, the humiliation of Christ was that he came into our time and space and operated within the human body and the limitations that the human body has to be our representative. Humiliation number one. It's unbelievable to really even think about. Humiliation number two. He hung on a cross while sinners spit on him, tortured him, mocked him, and laughed at him. It was bad enough that he came to this earth in the form of a man, God in the flesh. The disciples said, we saw his glory, the glory of the one who came for the Father, full of grace and truth. But not only did he come in the flesh, he was pierced. He was afflicted. He was crucified. Humiliation number two. As bad as those first two humiliations are, there's a worse one. It's the third one. And it transcends both of them, multiplied together. For God to go to such an extent to share the love of his love for mankind, he sent his son in the form of a man to be crucified. What's worse than that? Think about this now. He's limited the proclamation of that good news to people like me and you. He has put a governor on the announcement of that news with life and death on the line for all mankind. He's humiliated himself by limiting himself to our willingness to share that good news with other people. This is the third humiliation of God. It's fascinating, isn't it? Last thing about that birth is kind of interesting. Not only was he in burial cloths, but he was in a manger. What is a manger? A manger is just a little feeding trough, just a little trough where animals would eat out of. Why would Jesus Christ come in a manger in a town called Bethlehem? Beth meaning house, Hem meaning bread, house of bread. God sent his son into this world to die for us, to be the bread of life, to feed us what it is we lack. I don't know what you lack today, whether it's satisfaction, purpose, meaning, direction, forgiveness, a clear conscience, compassion, insight, an understanding of who you are, or the power of God in your life. But he came to feed you something. He came to grow you up. He came to make you stronger. And the two things that God says in the form of a little baby are this: I've come to die for you, I'm coming after you. In addition to that, I've come to nourish you. I am the bread of life. That's amazing. So continue to go about your Christmas plans. Get ready for this big holiday. Share your traditions, but ask yourself this question: am I hungry? And if so, what am I hungry for? Better said, who am I hungry for? Now look at all the ways you try to meet that appetite in your life. Look at your boyfriends and your girlfriends, and look at your successes, look at your academics, look at your family, look at money, look at power, look at prestige, look at business, look at procrastination, look at rationalization, look at them all. Do they satisfy you? Question: could you not actually live with this resurrection life of Christ who came to die for you? Second, could he not satisfy you? And is he not telling you this Christmas that he died in a manger that you might have something to eat of a spiritual sense? He told his disciples, I have food you know nothing about. I wonder, does he have something for you to digest this Christmas, to give it a richer, fuller meaning? But not just for Christmas, for every day of your life. I have found Christ to be the bread of life, and I found him to be incredibly satisfying and fulfilling. He strengthens me. He sends me on my way, and he died so that I can live. I hope you experience that very same thing, and I hope you have one of the best ever Merry Christmases you've ever had. Think about that. And Merry Christmas.